The first reason that I see for this fixably high heart rate, it's dehydration and low sodium. So what you'll notice is everything feels fine for the first half an hour to 40 minutes at a steady power output. And then heart rate starts to ever so slightly creep up. 2 beats, 4 beats, 8 beats. Before you know it, you're north of 10 beats higher, and it never really settles. Perceived effort rises and you start over-breathing a little. You might even feel weirdly thirsty, but only after you're already way behind on your hydration. So what's going on? When you sweat, you lose fluid and electrolytes, especially sodium. That reduces plasma volume, the part of your blood that's mostly water. With less volume returning to the heart each beat, your body bumps the heart rate to maintain cardiac output at the same workload. Same power, but at a higher cost. Now, the quick fix to this that you can do today is you can start the ride topped up. Drink like 500 to 750 ml of water in the hour before you roll out the gate and start your ride, and include roughly 5 to 800 milligrams of sodium, not sugar alone, sodium. Then put a reminder in your hammerhead unit to sip water every 10 to 15 minutes, just so you don't forget. And if it's warm or windy, just bring an extra bottle. Don't be afraid to bring a third bottle out on the bike with you. Throw it in your back pocket or plan a garage stop to refuel mid-ride. If you're on the turbo, you really need to get serious about hydration. You need to treat hydration as almost as important as the workout, not some ancillary afterthought. It's not an optional extra. The longer term fix for this problem is you need to learn your sweat rate. I've talked about this in a previous interview with Dr. Sharon Madigan on the channel, where we talk about a detailed protocol, and I'm actually playing around with Flow Bio at the moment to understand my own sweat rate. But to summarize the conversation with Sharon Madigan, and you can dive deeper into that, you need to weigh yourself before and after a steady hour with minimum clothing and no bathroom breaks. Each kilogram lost is about a litre of fluid. Replace that across the next ride and salt those bottles accordingly. If you love coffee, enjoy it, but don't use espresso as a substitute for electrolytes. And if you're a salty sweater with those white streaks on your kit, you know those guys, err towards the higher end of those sodium recommendations per bottle. It's not macho to suffer a dry mouth on training spins. As I say, that full protocol with Dr. Sharon Madigan, we'll link that below. That's definitely worth checking out. Reason number 2, heat and poor cooling. This is the silent villain of indoor training that no one really wants to talk about, and any warm days outside. What you'll notice is you sit down on the turbo trainer and you're super proud of your discipline actually getting onto the turbo trainer. You jump into your zone 2 power and your heart rate's already flirting with zone 3 or tempo inside the first 10 to 15 minutes. Or if you're outside on a sunny day, you hit a climb and your heart rate jumps even though your power hasn't changed at all. So what's going on here? The mechanism behind this is when you're hot, your body shunts blood to the skin to dump heat. That extra circulatory work on top of the work to your muscles. The thermostat cranks up the sympathetic drive. Your heart rate goes up to achieve the same power. And it will keep rising unless you actively cool yourself down. You'll experience this if you ever tried heat training. And I've talked in detail about heat training protocols and I've played with it myself. And it's quite an uncomfortable feeling because your heart rate's so elevated during these heat training protocols. If you are experiencing this, the quick fix is to get 2 decent fans and point them at your torso, not your face, chest and torso. One from the front and one from the side. If you have only one, definitely aim that at your chest. But if you have 2, chest and torso. You can also put ice in one of your bottles, have one ice bottle and one regular bottle, and alternate sips regular to ice bottle. I've basically created like a wind tunnel where I do my indoor training. I got 2 cheap fans on Amazon. They blow up a storm. I have 2 of them pointed at me and I use that ice trick and it really helps. Outdoors, you can unzip your jersey as you're going up the climb, re-zip it when you have to get to the descent. You can be dumping cold bottles of water over your head. I also see a lot of people wearing a cap under their helmet on warm days to stop sweat going into their eyes. This can actually make things a lot worse on hot climbs. So I'd remove that if you're overheating, 100%. The longer protocol to address this is to do a short heat acclimation block. So you're looking to ride indoors in warm conditions regularly for 7 to 10 days in a controlled heated graded environment. Now, you can think of this as like a zone 1, zone 2 ride. You can focus on hydration and you're going to crank up the heat. You can use something like a core sensor if you want to actually monitor the heat. I've loads of podcasts if you search heat training on detailed heat training protocols. The important thing is with this to start gradual. When you're looking for heat acclimation, this isn't a death march in the sauna that we're after. We're looking for graded exposure. Over time, you'll expand plasma volume and improve your cooling response. The key is to respect recovery. Heat is stress. If your sleep and your mood start to dip from prolonged heat training exposure, pull back a little bit. Start using more fans, start using more fluids. Indoor training is brilliant and it's a beautiful way to get a stimulus, but there can be a lot of suffering attached to it and we don't need to glorify that suffering. One of the easiest ways to suffer is restricting that airflow, so please only do that in a controlled manner. Fitness isn't built by overheating, it's built by an appropriate load and consistent recovery. Okay, before I jump into reason number 3, I wanted to flag a really cool project that we're kicking off. It's called Not Done Yet, and it's aimed at anybody who's over 30, who's not ready to give up, someone who still wants to scratch that itch to see how good they can be, how fast they can be, even with balancing family, work and life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to personally work with and mentor a small number of athletes for the coming season. I'm going to plan their training in detail, their nutrition, their race calendar, tactics, everything. A full pro experience. So if you're not done yet, pop me an email. I'm going to leave my email down below, but it's anthony@roadmancycling.com, and tell me a small bit about why you think you'd be a good fit for this program. I'm going to review all the applications and I'll get back to a handful of you guys and we'll have a pretty amazing year. I'm going to trickle down a lot of what I learned in the podcast into this Not Done Yet cohort. So I'm really excited by that project. Reason number 3 is underdeveloped aerobic base, or some coaches will call this cardiac drift or cardiac decoupling. So what you'll notice on an endurance ride of 90 minutes or more is the heart rate starts to float up relative to power as the ride goes on. So early in the ride, 200 watts might cost you about 135 beats to produce. Now, 90 minutes into the ride, you're still at 200 watts, but your heart rate's drifted. Say it's up to 147 beats and it's climbing. So why this is happening? Your ability to keep stroke volume high and rely on fat oxidation at low intensities, it's a trainable capacity. Without enough aerobic base, fuel use shifts, temperature and cardiovascular strain accumulate, and heart rate climbs to keep up with the demand. It's not a moral failing, it's a training signal that you have an underdeveloped aerobic base. The quick fix today is to just cap intensity early. Don't spend the first half an hour yo-yoing above tempo, sprinting for traffic lights. Ease into endurance pace with a long, patient warm-up, or swap one hard, high-intensity day each week for a longer, steady endurance ride of 90 to 180 minutes. Now, I'm talking truly steady, not group ride steady where we're having surges all the time. And if the route tempts you to surge because there's rollers on the route, you just need to be a bit more conscious with route selection and choose a flatter loop or a trainer ride to reduce that variability. Now, a longer protocol to fix this is to run a 6 to 8 week endurance progression. Start with 90 minutes steady once a week and then add 15 minutes each week until you're living comfortably in that 2 hour plus space. Track decoupling with your analysis tool, so you're comparing average power to average heart rate in halves. You want less than a 5% drift from the first half to the second half of a session. And when you hit that repeatedly, now you've earned the right to add in a little bit of tempo or a little bit of sweet spot later into the ride. Don't chase speed in zone 2. Terrain, wind and ego make speed it's a liar. Speed's a liar. Chase steadiness, chase breathing, chase control and chase decoupling. They're far better markers.